Water, ice, plate and forks. Seriously? Service with a smile.
Some things should just be standard. RevVoice has 17 standard calling features. Cut the blue wire. Get RevVoice, save money.
The U.S. Embassy's Chargé d'Affaires says the Bahamas' crime statistics are frightening. The National Security Minister says it's not his role to criticize the Commissioner of Police. The president of the Bahamas Insurance Association talks NHI, plus government is investing millions of dollars in new Doppler radars. We've got those stories and a lot more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and MV12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, U.S. Chargé d'Affaires Lisa Johnson says the Bahamas' crime statistics are frightening and the country's crime problem is an issue that needs to be tackled right away. While speaking with reporters, she expressed concern that the problem needs to be addressed urgently, although she noted relief won't come overnight. She also told reporters of how the U.S. government has now stepped up its assistance to the Bahamian government in bringing a resolution before it's too late. Kyle Joaquin reports.
Johnson said the crime problem is not just an issue for the Bahamas, but for the U.S. as well. And at that recent media roundtable discussion, she said there's actually a lot more the Bahamas could be doing in that fight.
Look, it's a difficult problem. The statistics are frightening. And look, it's not an easy thing to tackle. I have a lot of respect for the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Those men and women are putting their lives on the line every day trying to make this a safer place for Bahamians.
With 149 murders just last year and more than 4 armed robberies reported by police just yesterday, the U.S. Chargé said the Bahamas' crime statistics are alarming, to say the least. And in many of these crimes, a handgun is the weapon of choice. Tourism Minister Obi Wolscombe has recently said a conversation between the Bahamas and the U.S. government must be had on how to address illegal firearms finding their way into the country. Gun control has been a fight U.S. President Barack Obama has been having for a few months now, with him recently making an executive decision. However, while his battles with that is ongoing, Johnson said a resolution to the Bahamas' crime problem as it pertains to guns won't be found in U.S. legislation.
You're not going to find the answer to your gun problem in U.S. legislation or change in policy. You're going to find it by working closely with us both on investigating and trying to shut down some of these criminal rings that are bringing guns into this country and finding ways to stop that.
The U.S. has been a good ally to the Bahamas in the crime fight over the decades, with police officers recently receiving special training in the U.S. Johnson also sat in every meeting with National Security Minister Dr. Meredith Nadish 2 weeks ago when he visited the U.S., with his most talked about meeting being with the FBI. She said atop their agenda during their meeting was a way to deal with gangs.
Really, one of the takeaways is the importance when you're investigating and prosecuting cases of gang violence and retaliatory violence, that you've got to have investigators and prosecutors working together from the beginning. So it was just really instructive for them to hear how that partnership works. And we do expect some follow-up with the people we met with, FBI and the prosecutors. We'd like to have them down here to the Bahamas. The Prime Minister has asked if they would come down, and I'm certain that they would love to.
Towards the end of last year, there were several men brought before the magistrate's court for gang-related offenses. It was the first time in the country's history that men were charged for allegedly being a part of a gang. However, those charges were dropped after the magistrate found fault on the part of the Crown. Repeat offenders on bail have also been a major issue, as many of them wind up committing even more crime or dead. According to Johnson, the National Security Minister also met with U.S. law officials on how to make the ankle monitoring system much more effective.
The Court Offender and Supervision Agency, we're trying to discuss and learn more about electronic bracelet monitoring technology that's in use in the United States and how it can be applied more effectively here. And we also went out to the Fairfax Police Department and 911 Center to hear how they do emergency response and how they use technology to direct their assets quickly to scenes of crimes.
Johnson said she's hopeful the Bahamas can rid itself of the vexing crime problem before it begins to really have an effect on tourism and, in turn, the country's economy. Reporting for NB12, Kyle Joaquin.
Although noting there are some people who may be dissatisfied with the job that Police Commissioner Ellison Greenslade is doing in the fight against crime, National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage said he's not in the business of criticizing the commissioner, explaining that's not his role. Nottage also promised details on government's new crime-fighting strategy are coming within days.
It is no part of my role to be criticizing the commissioner. Even if he were, other people may feel that they're not satisfied with what he's doing. What I'm trying to do is to get us to work together, to get the police force with all of the equipment, personnel, strategies that it needs to do its work properly. More emphasis on crime prevention, and let the rest of it take care of itself. But I'm not in the business of criticizing the commissioner.
Nottage was asked if he agreed with State Minister of National Security Keith Bell. Nottage was asked if he agreed with State Minister of National Security Keith Bell, who suggested Greenslade is failing to carry out all of government's crime-fighting initiatives. But he's not the only one who has voiced concerns about continued crime. Former Deputy Police Commissioner Quinn McCartney had called for a change in leadership in the fight against crime. And while he didn't specifically identify anybody, his comments were widely viewed as a critique of Greenslade. The Prime Minister confirmed last week Nottage had flown into Washington, D.C. to meet with U.S. officials at FBI headquarters. Asked about that meeting, Nottage said it's likely government will implement.
I think that we have some issues that we could use sharing other people's ideas with some of the things that they're doing in other jurisdictions. And I have to say that I have had some exposure to strategies that I think will benefit us here. And it's very likely that in the near future we will seek to get some assistance, and by that I mean mainly strategic ideas.
Back in October, Prime Minister Perry Christie said government would unveil new crime-fighting strategies and suggested the plan may call for a restriction of movement. However, he didn't go into details. Asked about it last week, Christie said Greenslade would be announcing details in his annual report. Nottage said the same, promising the new strategy will come in a matter of days.
Within days. The Commissioner's policing plan is being completed, consistent with many of the innovations that we hope to be able to introduce. And so I think that you'll hear from us very soon.
Officials met at the National Emergency Management Agency this morning to present a comprehensive after-action review of Hurricane Joaquin, which struck the Bahamas last October. Officials from NEMA, the Met Department, and other agencies attended the presentation. Meteorologist Trevor Baisden also revealed the government is now investing millions of dollars in new Doppler radars. Simone Davis reports.
Officials from the Met Department confirmed that they are currently in the process of purchasing new radars totaling about $18 million in an effort to ensure that the entire country is properly monitored during hurricane season. Baisden said the new high-powered radars would
We're looking at placing in Long Island, New Providence. We'll upgrade from this old one. Then Abaco and Exuma. Okay, that's what it'll be. So again, Abaco, New Providence, Long Island, and Exuma, and that would cover the whole entire archipelago. So no one would not be covered by these systems. Thank you. It's looking at around $18 million.
Baisden also thoroughly went through the process of Hurricane Joaquin, stating that the department is still evaluating exactly how the storm entered the Bahamas so quickly. In order to understand how Baisden also thoroughly went through the process of Hurricane Joaquin, stating that the department is still evaluating exactly how the storm entered the Bahamas so quickly, in order to understand how to better track future storms before they even hit the Bahamas. Crooked Island was among the
I think one of the recommendations that I would like to make in the District of Crooked Island, I think if they can build a community center on an elevated area, and we have identified an area where a building can be put that would be able to accommodate the entire island, because the population is approximately 285.
Chief Health Inspector in the Department of Environmental Health, Sally Chisholm, said there were some pros and cons in dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Joaquin on the islands. She asserted that some pros were that there was a lot of support in getting supplies and medical attention needed to the family islands after the storm. But on the other hand, people were still without electricity and some even without shelter for a very long time.
For improvement and recommendation, we like to see better communication between the head office and the staff in the family islands. As it stands now, if we want to talk to our staff in the family islands, we have to go through the administrator. So what we're looking for is to have some satellite phones in all of our family islands so that we can make that communication ourselves. We want to see something within our budget so that we don't have, so that some budget allocation for mobilization before or after disasters. Because as it stands now, we have to depend heavily on other government agencies to assist us to get out to those family islands. We also think that we need, as a country, we need to revisit how we build in the family islands so that we can minimize the damage or destruction as a result of flooding.
NEMA also conducted a telephone assessment with administrators of Long Island and Acklands to determine exactly what needs to be established or restored and ways to help residents be better prepared for any natural disasters going forward. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
4 men and 1 woman were taken into custody yesterday after police discovered more than 300 pounds of marijuana inside a home on Eastern Road. Police are praising this latest seizure as another blow against organized drug trafficking in the Bahamas. According to police reports, sometime during Wednesday evening, officers from the Drug Enforcement Unit commenced a major operation in eastern New Providence. The operation culminated shortly after 6 a.m. on Thursday when DEU officers descended on a residence on Eastern Road where they searched a Dodge Caravan and uncovered 10 sacks containing 341 pounds of marijuana. 4 men and 1 woman who are believed to be members of a major organized drug trafficking ring were subsequently arrested and taken into custody.